Let's just go through, though, really quickly, and then we're going to bring in Ryan and Emily.
Please.
You know, this is why DeSantis and co. smell blood in the water. So one of Trump's highest profile picks here, who had the best chance of any of the Stop the Steal gubernatorial nominees to win, Kari Lake, now official. She has lost. She will not be governor of Arizona. That means, let's go ahead and go to the second element in the C block here of all of the wins and losses of Trump. He lost every single governor's race, save for one, Lombardo in Nevada, who I don't think was an election denier directly.
Correct.
In the Senate, he lost all of them except for incumbent Senator Ron Johnson, who narrowly squeaks by, and Herschel Walker, who is behind but went to the runoff. And for Secretary of State, and these ones really mattered because, I mean, Secretary of State is just about running elections, basically. Every single one of his candidates lost. These are in the swing states. In other states around the country, different story. But in terms of these key swing states, the win-loss record is just plainly absolutely abysmal.
To me, Fincham, the Secretary of State candidates are the ones that matter the most. They were going to throw us into a potential constitutional crisis for some sort of crazy stop the steal nonsense in 2024. And voters showed up and said, no, hell no. And the reason why I think that matters is that, look, guys, the Republicans pulled off some crazy upsets in Arizona. You're just not hearing about them because they're in the House of Representatives. Normal Republicans who ran very not major stop the steal races, they were able to beat Democrats.
Brad Raffensperger in Georgia bucked Trump famously in that phone call that everybody heard and everything. He, I think, got a higher vote percentage than even Brian Kemp, who also, of course, famously was independent-minded when it came to stop the steal. And so it's just as clear as it could possibly be. At the same time, you know, you have a lot of soul-searching going on the Republican side, including Senator Josh Hawley, who says now that the old Republican Party is dead. Let's take a listen to that.
I think that this election was the funeral for the Republican Party as we know it. The Republican Party, as we have known it, is dead. And voters have made that clear. And in particular, the folks who did not vote for Republicans in this last election were independent voters, working class independent voters, folks who voted for President Obama once upon a time, folks who then voted for President Trump but stayed home this time. We are not a majority party unless we can appeal to those voters.
When he says that, what does he mean by that?
So I think he means on the economic front. Hawley, of course, was with Trump on Stop the Steal. He was the first senator really to endorse Stop the Steal.
Fist picture.
A very unfortunate picture for him that came out. I think he wants to, look, Hawley is a conundrum because it's difficult to get your head around. He believes in some very unpopular socially conservative positions. I haven't yet heard how he's going to vote on this gay marriage bill. So presumably, guys, we got an announcement from Senator Heidi Heitkamp that 60 senators had signed on to pass during lame duck a gay marriage bill through the U.S. Senate. I'm very curious to see how he votes on that. He cheered the Dobbs decision. At the same time, he is a believer that you can have unpopular social conservatism and pair it with popular economics and then have that be the winner. So in his criticism, immediately after, he talks about the GOP vote on insulin prices. Famously, I don't know if people remember, during the Inflation Reduction Act, he voted with the Democrats to make sure that you could bargain on insulin for the federal government and Medicare, on a couple of other economic issues. So I think that is where his head is at. Now, do I think it will work? I don't know. Part of the things that I said very often was, hey, if you align yourself with this crazy stop the steal nonsense, a lot of people aren't going to care what you think about economics. And I think personally I was vindicated on this, is if you combine stop the steal with a national abortion ban, well, turns out a lot of people, even in the middle of the highest inflation in 40 years, can be like, yeah, I don't know so much about this one. So it's a chicken and the egg problem. I mean, I think he has a very unique view that he can combine social conservatism with economic populism. I am not nearly as optimistic as I once was that's even possible in the Republican Party. And also, I want to see, is he going to vote for Rick Scott? Because if you vote for Rick Scott over Mitch McConnell, you're kind of full of shit. Because Rick Scott is way worse on economics.
Libertarian in terms of economics.
I got a lot of problems with Mitch. Many that I could list a million in terms of what he's done on economics. He still, though, is not even close to as ideologically an economic libertarian as Rick Scott, who literally wants to cut Social Security. So how is Hawley going to vote? on that one.
I mean,
I have all sorts of questions like
in
this.
Rick Scott's announcement that he's running against Mitch McConnell, he brings up what he calls protecting Social Security for that's code. That's their code for cutting it, and Medicare as well.
Right.
And it's all deficit hawk language. So yeah, I mean, it's why it's hard to parse a critique like this, because Josh Hawley is not talking about like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't have done the whole stop the steal thing, because he's not. There's no self-reflection there.
His political fortune is tied to that. So
yes.
It's not possible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the last thing that, I think it's worth saying is that the Donald Trump of today is not anything like the Donald Trump of 2015 and 2016. When there was something, he was talking about some issues that really had resonance with people. He was talking about trade. There was a different view. He was the outsider. Now, what is he up to? Go ahead and put this up on the screen. Memes on Truth Social.
Yeah.
Lots of, this is C4.
D4, sorry.
C4, C4 guys. Memes on Truth Social, especially a lot of QAnon-related memes. I mean, it's basically just like your typical boomer poster at this point. And Richard Hanania actually made a very good point, which is, in some ways, Trump was kept in more of a normie world when he was on Twitter. Now he's just in this total, like, right-wing, very ideological, very pro-Trump space on Truth Social, and he just seems to be getting further and further from reality. I mean, he is like the definition of the dude who needs to touch grass.
Yeah, I mean, this is just pure boomer posting, as many of you can see. It's not great to have the president. It's funny because in the past, every once in a while, he would just do stuff like this, and now it's just like a constant stream over on Truth Social. I think Richard is entirely correct, which is that whenever you had Trump on Twitter, you at least had him in the ecosystem where everybody was involved. On Truth, he is genuinely in such a bubble that it is just nearly impossible in order to get him back. And then the fact is, he hasn't at least come back so far. So I think, look, do I think it will be politically a problem? Not necessarily, but it's not good for anybody to be stuck in a single information environment.
I don't think it's a problem for him in the Republican primary.
Right.
I think it's a big problem for him in a general election. I think it was a problem for him in the last general election. I mean, remember how like weirdly online the RNC was last time, and they take these like internet celebrities and put up on stage, and you're like, I don't even know what the backstory is with this. Well, he's gone way, way further down that road at this point. Again, I don't think it's a problem with the GOP base. And I guess that's before we bring in Ryan and Emily here, I mean, that's my overall view is like, I do think America is done with Donald Trump. I think the midterms, I think him losing his office as the presidency, I think that is all pretty good proof that America overall would very much like to move on from Donald Trump. Is the diehard Republican Party base that's going to show up and vote in a primary, are they done with Donald Trump? That I'm not so sure about. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.